answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. This is what Federal Prosecutor David Weiss had to say after a quick turnaround on Hunter Biden's guilty verdict by a Delaware jury.
Second, no one in this country is above the law. Everyone must be accountable for their actions, even this defendant. However, Hunter Biden should be no more accountable than any other citizen convicted of this same conduct. The prosecution has been and will continue to be committed to this principle and to the principles of federal prosecution in carrying out its responsibilities.
No more, no less. A banner day for the criminal justice system in America, right? For more on this, pleased to be joined by George Parry, former federal and state prosecutor, regular contributor to the American Spectator, and George Parry blogs at knowledgeisgood.net. George, thanks for joining us.
Glad to be with you.
Not the justice system is working as it should, and yes, we have a convicted felon who's the former president. Now we have a convicted felon who's the son of a president, and no one is above the law. All is right with America.
Yeah, well, you just heard from the same guy who let the statute of limitations run on Hunter Biden's nefarious dealings in Ukraine and China and elsewhere that raised millions and millions of dollars that disappeared somewhere into the Biden family bank accounts. That's the same guy, and he's thumping his chest like this is a big deal. And that's the same guy who negotiated a plea deal with Hunter Biden that was going to give him blanket immunity for everything he's ever done. And if it wasn't for the judge, Judge Noreika, the same judge that sat on this trial, if she hadn't caught it and blown up the deal, that would be Hunter Biden would be in the clear on everything. So I had to get out some duct tape to hold my head together when I was listening to him make that statement yesterday, because it was just absurd. This conviction of Hunter Biden on these gun charges is basically a distraction, a diversion from what really went on here. And what has gone on is that Hunter Biden has gotten away with it. This judge may sentence him under the guidelines. He could be looking at 15 to 21 months in prison, and she may well sentence him to that. But let's be real. Joe Biden is not going to let his kid go to prison. Yep. Period. And so once the election is over, he's going to be pardoning the kid. So from that standpoint, this whole proceeding with Hunter Biden in this gun case was nothing more than performance art dressed up as criminal justice.
Well, when are we going to get to the real family crime, how they raked in tens of millions of dollars from China, Ukraine, and Russia?
Yeah, well, I mean, for the most part, with Hunter's involvement, the statute of limitations is running that. I don't know with this Justice Department we're ever going to get to that. I mean, look at what the FBI did with the laptop, Hunter's laptop. They swallowed it up, and they just, they were just going to sit on it until the whole thing went away. If it wasn't for some IRS whistleblowers who got off the reservation and started telling the world what was going on, none of this would have happened to Hunter. So I have no hope that there's ever going to be any justice in regard to that, in regard to the millions of the Biden family's made. Certainly from Hunter's standpoint, he's in the clear because of the statute of limitations is already run.
Yeah, when I got word about Hunter Biden's conviction, I said, that looks to me like it has all the classic earmarks of a Russian information operation. That's what I was thinking, because I want to be down with the intel community. Work from their playbook. So with respect to You sort of mentioned it, but just the legal particulars. So he goes to trial in the fall on income tax fraud charges. So there'll be a pre-sentencing report, there'll be a sentencing date set, and so forth. He's going to appeal.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no way that even if he were to get a prison sentence, that he would have to report before the election, right? I mean, the timeline just doesn't work, particularly with the other trial pending.
Well, I mean, ordinarily in federal court, once you're sentenced, they take you away in handcuffs,
right?
And you can seek relief in the appellate courts if you want. I would think that, given who he is, Hunter is in no danger of going to prison. I mean, I don't know about this Judge Noreka who in Delaware, who's a real straight shooter. She may say, yeah, okay, take him out of here in cuffs. But I think the Third Circuit Court of Appeals, before which I have appeared many times, wouldn't hesitate to reverse that decision and let Hunter remain free on bail until his appeals were heard.
Right.
So it's just not going to happen. And I would think out in California, it'd be the same thing. Hunter isn't going to see the inside of a jail cell before the election. And after the election, you know, I don't care what Biden says. President Biden says he's going to pardon the kid, and then this whole thing's going to be over.
What about what's your perspective, expert opinion on Trump? Is Trump going to see the inside of a jail cell?
I think he very well could. Look, if they could get Trump in an orange jumpsuit on Rikers Island, many of the people in the Democratic Party would consider that a real win. The only thing that I think would prevent that from happening is that within 36 hours of his conviction in that rigged trial in Manhattan, Trump raised $300 million. That might give them pause, but I think their plan is to have Trump be sent to Rikers Island and let him see if he can, get some appellate court to grant him some relief. And the interesting thing is there's a bill coming through the House of Representatives where they want to strip Trump of his Secret Service protection.
Right. Benny Thompson.
So, yeah, so if that happens, then you have Trump on Rikers Island with no protection. How long do you think he would live?
Yeah, an easy assassination.
Depends if he gets a teardrop tattoo or not when he enters, I suppose. And it joins the right gang. So that would be a moment. Because it's interesting. I mean, if you look at this and say, well, Merchant and Bragg are just politicians pretending to be officers of the court, which is what I believe. Mm-hmm. Then they have to. So they're looking at the political landscape. They don't care about the law. The law is a workaround to what they want to do.
Yeah.
And so you have to look at this though. And the Hunter Biden conviction gives Biden a much better positioning on this matter. And so why would you want to send Trump to prison and sort of make the two stories asymmetric again? In other words, let's not overplay our hand. Now they're both convicted felons. Biden has what he needs. He's the grieving father who respects the system, and Trump is the bloviating agent of chaos who doesn't respect the system, and that's good positioning for us. So don't rock that boat. Just sort of leave it alone. If you send Trump to prison, that's again. The next dangerous precedent to set, and maybe we don't need it.
Yeah, well, that's a sound political argument, but I think that if you look at think of how desperate they're getting now. Mm. It's clear that Biden is just a wax dummy who doesn't know where he is at most hours of the day. And what have they done to Bobby Kennedy Jr.? They've denied him Secret Service protection, even though he's a Kennedy who's at high risk of being killed. I wouldn't be at all surprised if through executive action Biden orders the Secret Service off Trump, and they stick him in Rikers Island and then wait to see what happens. I think they're
Wow.
desperate to get rid of Trump.
That would
You're
be
scaring
That's a
me.
that would be a moment.
yeah, that,
Oh my goodness.
yeah, that's a very dark vision, but oh, what the heck? I made my living dealing with dark stuff, so,
So,
you know.
yeah. So what did you think yesterday? So after the verdict was read, Biden, it was on his schedule prior to them rendering a verdict that he was at the gun violence prevention summit where he asked for harsher gun control laws, and he urged Americans to safely store their firearms. While we just saw video of Hunter doing the exact opposite of safely storing his firearm, he got his girlfriend / sister-in-law to dump it in a
Isn't that
dumpster.
great? Isn't that great? Yeah, well, look, I mean, these people have no shame. I can't really blame President Biden, because I really and truly think that the guy doesn't know what he's doing from one minute to the next. I mean, did you see the Juneteenth celebration
yeah.
at the White House?
Can't unsee that.
Yeah. He was getting
Yeah,
down
he's-
with his bad self. Yeah.
Yeah, right. You're right. Yeah, and the future president, Kamala Harris, was next to him, grooving around. But no, he looked like he was just on another planet.
Yeah.
Was that-
no
was
one
that-
wants to see politicians dance.
Was that Kamala Harris, or was that a dude dressed up as Kamala Harris?
No, that was the dude 2 doors down
that
from
was-
her.
Oh,
Was
I see.
Yeah,
Billy
exactly,
Porter, who's
exactly, yeah.
wearing a dress. Men in beards don't wear dresses.
Well,
Please
don't
don't defame my gender.
That's a very,
Ugh.
very, or like early 2000s view of the world. I wanted to get your view on something else too. I mean, amid these trials, we've lost some attention span for what the Supreme Court is doing before their term is concluded. This is an important case, NRA v. Vullo. This is where the NRA alleged their First Amendment rights had been infringed upon by the New York Superintendent of Financial Services, who was pushing insurance companies and banks to not do business with the NRA. This was a 9-0 decision. This is how far afield the New York Superintendent of Financial Services was. And this is against the backdrop of the much anticipated Missouri v. Murphy decision, which is also another important First Amendment case. So I just wanted to get your take on that case and in the context of Missouri v. Murphy, too, which is, for people who've forgotten, that's the case where the federal government used the big tech platforms, the social media platforms, as a cutout to censor Americans to do against Americans what the federal government couldn't do.
Well, the Vullo case was very significant. I mean, they reinstated the NRA's right to take action in court, and that action by New York State was really quite similar to what Justin Trudeau did to the truckers in Canada. They were trying to basically debank the NRA the way Trudeau and his thugs debanked the truckers who were protesting the lockdowns, the COVID lockdowns in Canada. And I thought it was very significant that you had a 9-0 ruling by the Supreme Court, because it's so obvious what the government was trying to do there. But again, this is another measure of the totalitarian instincts and aims of the Biden regime and the left. The idea that, that the state can take action against you because you're advocating something that they don't believe in. Take that principle that they're pursuing. They're saying, well, the NRA is bad because they're advocating for guns, and guns are bad. They're trying to extend the same kind of argument against the oil companies, the fossil fuel providers. They're saying that they should be subject to damages because of the harm that they're supposedly causing the environment. I mean, this is a totalitarian instinct that is really quite alarming. And I was happy to see that the court stepped in and at least gave the NRA the chance to go back into court to deal with this, to contest it. Whether or not they would be successful in federal court or any other court in New York remains to be seen. But at least they've got a chance now to make the argument.
George Parry, former federal and state prosecutor, regular contributor to the American Spectator. George Parry blogs at knowledgeisgood.net. George, thank you as always.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
It's news, opinion, insight. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Are you turning 65 and thinking about Medicare? Or are you over 65 and haven't enrolled yet because you still have coverage at work? Either way,